Here are 24 ways to get fluent in a language in 2024, and only 2 of them have anything to do with AI, because AI got boring a long time ago. Let's do it. Ciao chicos, number 1 is delete social media. I mean, put things in place to limit your use of it, sign out of it, take the apps on your phone, ask a friend to change the password, whatever you need to do. And if you see a net benefit from doing those things, maybe consider actually closing the account. I know you hear it all the time, but seriously, stop spending your most important asset, your attention, on social media. There, I just gave you like 2 hours of your day back. Number 2, watch a movie. Revolutionary, I know. But for people who only do the Duolingo and just the Duolingo, that's it. For beginners, the idea of watching an entire movie all in a target language can be quite intimidating. So guess what? It doesn't have to be originally in the target language. I recommend you start with an animation that you've seen before, like Inside Out, or Kung Fu Panda, or Into the Spider-Verse. And if you haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse, watch Into the Spider-Verse. Number 3, stop talking. Yeah, that's what I said. Shut up. Look, I know this advice is level specific. For example, someone like me in Swedish, competent but not perfect, I could probably do with a lot more speaking. But a lot of people who don't know all their core words, can't understand things at everyday speed, etc., are trying to speak on a daily basis and just not improving. And you might wonder why that is, and that's because you're trying to improve at the thing that is not the constraint of your skill. It's like putting better tires on a car to make it go faster when it still doesn't have a working engine. Basically, if you can't understand most of what you hear or read in the language, then I guarantee you that that is the constraint of your skill in that language, and that is what you should improve. Number 4, on that note, Anki, or something similar-ish, an alarm on your phone, a notebook. I don't really care how you do it, but something that serves to remind you of a word, phrase, whatever. Anything that will capture snippets of audio is great. That's what I have on my PC, and that way when I hear something that I think, I'd probably like to remember that, but I bet I won't, I just grab it, put it into Anki, and that way every now and then I come across it, I'm forced to listen to it, and then when I hear it again in something I'm watching or reading, I know what it means. And I'm not religious about doing my Anki, like not even close. Incredibly, it is possible to benefit from spaced repetition without the spaced bit, just some repetition. Number 5, where I'm getting this material from is the country of origin. The tip being, don't Google how to learn Hungarian. If you're learning Hungarian, that is. If you're not learning Hungarian, then don't Google it either. Instead, translate something like best free streaming service into Hungarian and then search that. A quick search like this in Swedish will throw back SVT Play, and a lot of countries have something similar to this. They're almost always free and a fountain of material in that language, and all you need to do to get at them is convince the website that you are in that country. Enter today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN. I'll be honest, I get approached by VPN sponsors all the time, and I always have to knock them back because I was using Surfshark 2 years before I worked with them, and it's the best VPN I've used. You've probably seen a VPN ad before, so I'm not gonna bore you with all that hullabaloo about cloaking your IP address and stuff. It's all very important, good stuff, but it's not why I personally like using Surfshark. I like it mainly because connecting is very fast and couldn't be easier. It stays completely hidden on my computer until I say, take me to Sweden, and then boom, we're in Sweden and it goes back to hiding again. They're also constantly updating their technology so that websites that try to stop you doing this still can't. For example, Netflix, which not only blocks content by region, but more frustratingly, languages by region. So see this list of languages? No. Wrong. That is not all the languages they have for that show. It's just the ones that they decide are relevant to you based on your location. Gross. I'll be the judge of what language I want to watch the 1992 Batman animated series in. Thank you very much. It's also added some really cool features that are built into the same app, like a full antivirus, data breach alerts, alternative ID generators so that you don't have to give your data in the first place, and a webcam turner-offerer. That is the technical term. And during December, you can take advantage of the Surfshark VPN holiday season deal. Enter promo code Lamont, L-A-M-O-N-T, to get up to 6 months for free on top of the discount that they're already offering. That makes it a steal. It's probably the best value service that a language learner can get. Link is in the description, and thanks to Surfshark for making more than one camera angle possible. It's actually still only one camera, I just make it look fancier by moving it around. Number 6, research something that is important to the culture of the language that you're learning and do it super in depth. And if you're thinking, wow, that sounds really hard, you don't have to do it in the language. You want to make the objective to learn a lot about that topic and don't worry about the language. But If you find the right topic that is something that interests you and is important to that culture, you'll probably find that the best info about that topic is in the language, and since it interests you already, you'll be compelled to spend more time in the language researching the topic. I just started something like this, so if you ever see me release a very, very long video about a very specific Swedish thing, you'll know why. Number 7, read a book in the target language, and if you think you can't, it's more possible than you might realize. Some tips to get you started. You may be an adult, but not in your target language. Read a kid's book, it's fine. Also, read something that you've read before. It sounds obvious, but people forget. And if we're talking about a language with a character-based writing system, it might be worth paying for a bilingual book. Number 8, this is a separate tip, but it does go well with number 7, and that is listen to the audiobook at the same time as reading. And to be clear, I do mean reading in the target language as well so that the audio matches the text. I call this scuba diving, and I can't possibly describe to you just how well it hits so many of the points that you're trying to hit in language learning all at the same time. Getting audiobooks in some languages can be hard. I use Storytel, which covers about 35 languages, but obviously some better than others. But definitely try to find audiobooks. They are very, very, very good. Number 9, okay, let's do some AI stuff. I mean, I suppose 2024 might be the last year that anyone speaks about it positively anyway. AI, because there's a small chance that it won't wipe out humanity. One of the better language learning uses for chatbots that I've seen came from a friend of mine, Eric Wen, who speaks Spanish, and he came up with a very specific prompt for it that I will put in the description if you want to copy it. All the times that it says Spanish, change to your language, obviously. And when Eric first showed me it working, I was like, wow, this is really cool. Very good prompting, Eric. It's almost like you were born and raised in Silicon Valley. And then after about 2 replies from the bot, I was like, boring. Look, I get that there are some wildly useful things that you can do with AI within language learning because that's really what a lot of AI is. It's just a language learning algorithm. So I understand that it's very useful, especially in smaller languages. It's just that to me, it's like sugar-free chocolate where the sugar has been replaced by diethylmalidine. In theory, it's cool. But in practice, it's a weird combination of bland and gross, and we have no idea of the long-term consequences. And number 10, while we're talking about the bots, another decent use for them is as information sorters. So if you think about any task that has traditionally been laborious because of the amount of information there is to filter, that's obviously going to be a lot easier with AI. So if you've got, say, a chapter of an ebook and like me, you're frustrated by not knowing the words that you don't know, so you just want to learn all the words that you don't know before you even start reading, then you can tell one of the bots, Gemini, ChatGPT, doesn't really matter.
You're the same to me.
That you have a vocabulary of X number of words, paste the passage in and say, list the words that are not likely to be part of my vocabulary, and while you're there, what they mean in this context. Now, obviously, even now in 2024, it's not going to be perfect, but it removes so much manual labor, and I would prefer to do it that way than to try to read the passage and filter out the words that I don't know at the same time. Also, last thing on AI and language learning, Refold, which is a company that specializes in learning languages via immersion, has a video on this that's pretty good. I'll link it in the description. Number 11, have a sentence of the day. This is something that I've heard a number of times, and every time I hear it, I think that would be a good idea, but I have never done it. So this is me telling myself to do it. You find sentences that are definitely above your level. Now, ideally not too far above, but definitely not something that you could just rattle off like it was nothing. So depending on your level, they might be like 10 to 25 words long, and they should hit some points that you do have difficulty with when speaking at everyday speed in your language. And then 1 sentence per day becomes your sentence of the day. So maybe you just want to start with 7 and you try to do this every day for a week. So you write it down, have it in your pocket or on your phone. Ideally, you've got a recording of a native speaker saying the sentence, and you just basically drill it at various times through the day. Like I said, I haven't done it, so I can't personally attest to how well this works, but I know people who do speak their language or languages very, very well and have done this, including Illis, whom I made a video about a few weeks ago. Yes, it is a bit of work to set up and everything, but I can imagine that the results would be very good. Do it. Number 12. I guess this might sound a little bit weird, but write a song. Now, I don't mean sit down and try to express your love for croissants in a beautiful French opera or something. I mean, you can do that if you want, but I was made aware of a British guy named Mackay who did something very creative with something that I said in Spanish. Ok, y hagamos esto una última vez.
I don't know what it means, but it sounded cool, so I decided to turn it into a song.
Ok, y hagamos esto una última vez. Ok, y hagamos esto una última vez. Funniest thing I've seen in ages, but also not a bad idea. I'm kind of busy at the moment, but do expect one of these in Swedish at some point. And for you watching this at home, make one of these in your target language, upload it to YouTube and tag me at Days and Words, and if I get enough of them, I'll make a compilation of it. I really like this idea. Well done, Mackay. Number 13, go for walks. Do you feel like you're stupid? If you said yes, that's because you are. No, I'm not joking. Humans who move less, which is, when compared with our ancestors, all of us, are literally dumber than humans who move more. To simplify that, because we're all dummies and we need it simplified, move body more, brain work more good. This is so important that I'm gonna say, if you're watching this on your phone, keep watching, but get up and go for a walk while you do so. Please be aware of your surroundings, don't get hit by a car, but just move your body for like 15 minutes a day and your brain, your mood, your sleep, your overall health will all thank you, and your language learning will too. Number 14, and talking about moving, do language sprints. I know some people like the idea of just doing something in their language for 15 minutes a day for 10 years and becoming fluent that way. Sounds lovely. But if that really is all you do for 10 years, it's not going to work. Firstly, that's only like 900 hours anyway. But also, your brain is not just a giant piece of paper that you can slowly color in one square at a time. To truly assimilate itself to the target language, there will need to be periods, not necessarily 5 years or anything, but at least days or weeks at a time where it gets more of the target language than anything else. A huge leap forward in my Swedish, genuinely a watershed moment for my language ability, was in mid-2020 when I spent 57 hours of 1 week fully immersed in Swedish. Obviously, not many people are going to be able to do this every week, but if you do like 35 hours in 1 week, you'll see what I mean. Number 15, and this is a good thing to do alongside the last one, and that is to create a target language YouTube account, because YouTube serves you content that it thinks you will like. In addition to the ever-increasing flood of videos about some bullcrap crypto thing or the best techniques for harvesting canola or literally any topic that I have never shown any interest in my entire life, from creators with 2 subscribers and multiple 40-minute long videos, none of which have titles and thumbnails that make any sense whatsoever. But sure, let's keep giving all the impression space to them, hey? Maybe one of them's just an undiscovered James Johnny. No, they're not. But sometimes it shows you things that you're actually interested in. And long story short, there are numerous advantages to having an entire account that YouTube deems to be that of a French speaker or a Russian speaker or whatever. So you create a new account and you search something, anything, doesn't matter what it is, in the target language, and you just never click on videos that are not in that language. And you don't need to do this part, but you can also see whatever is culturally relevant to that country by checking the trending tab whilst using a VPN. Number 16, watch, read, or listen to things multiple times. Oh, a video where Lamont mentions repetition. How original. It's very difficult to reach near native comprehension of an entire language without first reaching that level of comprehension of a single piece of the language. If every time you watch a movie, you then just go and watch another movie, there's probably a lot of language that was sitting right on the edge of being acquired that will move further away from that edge with every day that you don't hear it again. So before you just go and look for another movie, consider that the one you've just watched may be the best option. And I mention this right after the YouTube tip because YouTube videos are perfect for this. Number 17, the same, but with TV series, so the repetition is on a longer timeline. To me, it still feels kind of recent that I watched a Swedish TV series that I can't name because YouTube filters don't like the name of the series because they think you're trying to get people to join the name of the series. But it wasn't actually very recent at all. My Swedish is on a whole different level now, meaning that the Swedish that I can extract from that series is also going to be different now. If I watch it again now, it will be like a different series, and therefore the language I can get from it will be very different. So even if the TV series is really long, rewatching is always a good option. Number 18, and this can go with honestly any of the others, change what it is you pay attention to. Particularly when you're listening to something that you've listened to before, there's often much to be gained from changing what it is you're focusing on. So I got this from Benjamin Keep, whom I know some of you watch. I'll link the video in the description. But the very quick summary is that you can improve specific components of even very highly interconnected skills like speaking a language by simply changing what it is that you're focusing on while you spend time with that language. So if you're having trouble with, for example, the D sound in your target language, you might just spend some time trying to notice every time you hear that sound and noticing the different ways that it plays out as it is heard in different contexts. And you may find that your own pronunciation of that sound improves just by doing that, because you'd be amazed by how much detail there is to hear in anything when you just start trying to. Number 19, buy a physical dictionary. A used one, obviously, because they're like $5 instead of $390. I'm not going to pretend that this is easy to explain, but if you're a language nerd, there's a good chance that you'll get it if you just spend some time perusing the entries. It makes spending time with the language a calming experience. An online dictionary doesn't really do that. It's kind of like buying a car and then asking, why would anyone ever ride a horse? This is just better. That may have been a comparison that was once fair to make, but these days, riding a horse is just not an alternative to driving. It provides a different experience, just like reading a physical dictionary. So buy a dictionary. Number 20, and the dictionary will come in handy for this one, but if you struggle to get going on reading a full book in your target language, I get it. I've been able to read in Swedish for quite some time now, but I haven't read a full Swedish book in a while. So if you are just struggling to get started, what I might recommend instead is to just open a book and try to find 5 words that you don't know, or 10 or 2. It doesn't really matter. And the beauty of this is that the more advanced you are, the more you'll have to read to do it. It's more fun than it sounds. Number 21, and we're moving well into the advice that I need to take myself now, and that is when there is something, whether it's something from this list or anything else that you really want to do and you feel like you should do, but you just can't quite get going on it, set a reward for yourself for doing less of that thing than you would imagine is a fair amount to get the reward. Does that make sense? I'm saying make it easy to get the reward. For example, I would like to buy a new desk. This desk isn't really right for what I do, and it's a desk. It's not going to bankrupt me. But somehow I feel like buying a desk just because I can is cheating. I don't know why, it doesn't feel earned. Also, there are a lot of things in Swedish that I haven't done that I should do, like the sentence of the day thing or reading a book lately. So I'm thinking 1 sentence a day for, say, 3 weeks, 21 days, and if I do it, I can buy a desk. Better language skills, better desk. Win-win. Number 22, record yourself speaking. I know you've heard it before, but have you done it? Probably not. I record myself speaking all the time in English. And yeah, it can be pretty intimidating, but it doesn't have to be impromptu speaking. I understand that at a very high level, that's probably quite beneficial. But for me, just reading a passage of text out loud in Swedish or Spanish, it's bad. I sound like a 5-year-old who's already gone through puberty. It's not natural. But imagine that I took an appropriate passage of which I had a recording of a native speaker reading already and recorded myself reading that every day for a month. And I can already hear all the age-adders saying, actually, that's not optimal. But optimal is not the name of the game. Despite some people thinking that I'm a language learning gatekeeper, I'm not. Helpful is what we're going for. If you're already pretty fluent but you feel you could be a lot better, record yourself speaking. It hurts, but it's good for you. Number 23, work together with a teacher to set yourself an assignment that they check you on. I know that we can't afford teachers all the time, but I used to waste all my lessons on just nothing. I used to just book them and then we would just talk and I would not get any better. These days, I'm thinking it'd be really good to pair this with number 6, which was, for those playing at home, doing really detailed research on something. Booking a number of lessons with the same teacher and updating the teacher on my research as I go, with the view to spending the whole last lesson putting all the research in some kind of coherent, say, presentation. If to you that sounds a lot like high school or university, It is. Remember, that is one of the reasons that adult native speakers are often so good at their native language. It's that they were good when they were about 12, but then from there, they were forced outside of their comfort zone in that language for another 6 to 12 years. School works. Sometimes, for some things, we can take the bits that work and use them to our advantage. Number 24, we made it, and I know it sounds obvious, but listen to your target language when you're on a bus, or a train, or in a taxi, or doing the dishes. I get it, you've heard it before, but the thing is, it's hard. It was easy to ignore everything else on your phone when all you had was YouTube in 360p because mobile data was so crappy, but now everything's amazing. You're probably watching this video on your phone in 4K. I know, right? It looks amazing, but it's still just my face. I'm not getting any prettier, and all the while, you could be listening to Italian. Italiano. See, it's not the same coming from me. But anyway, subscribe, lo quiero.